Good morning. Welcome to TCS Film School. Today we're going to talk about gathering the tools that you need in order to conduct a script breakdown. So by the end of this particular ELO, you should be able to identify the tools that you're going to need to conduct a script breakdown and a short description of what you're going to actually be using these tools for. So these are the tools that you actually need to conduct a script breakdown. We're going to need red, yellow, green, orange, blue, purple, pink, brown, and black pens or colored pencils or highlighters, regular pencils, and then yellow, green, and blue are the specific highlighters that you'll actually need. This is based on kind of the most common sort of industry standard. There's not technically a standard, but this is the colors you're going to find most frequently. It's the colors that are most easily available on the internet. So if you're working with other people, which with filmmaking we almost always are, these are the colors that the people you're working with are most likely to understand and be expecting. If you're working with people that are expecting other colors, that's fine as long as everyone on board knows what all the colors mean. There's also not necessarily any requirement that you use any colors at all. It does take you slightly longer to use colors. However, if you're using colors, if you're using consistent colors throughout your entire script with everyone on board knowing what those colors mean, it makes it much easier to look at a page of a script at a glance and know exactly what you're doing with any specific page. So again, this is not the end-all, be-all rule of these colors, but it is a very good starting point to make sure that you are doing things in a way that everyone is going to be able to understand. So we have, these are examples of the pens and colors that you might be using. The tool pack I got just from Office Depot, and I liked them because they came with all of the colors in one pack. It can be kind of hard to find brown or yellow pens. They're not always very obvious. Particularly the yellow pens. I was a big Pilot G2 fan for forever, and it took, it was actually ridiculously expensive to buy a yellow pen. Also, brown highlighters can be difficult. I don't even have one here. So if you're doing these by the correct colors, the tool pens are nice because they have everything. The Pilot Friction line is also nice because they're erasable. And for someone like me who makes a lot of mistakes, it's nice to be able to actually just erase them away. So the red pen that we're going to be using will be used for the cast. That's anyone who has an actual speaking role in the film. Green is background talent. This is formerly known as extras, and I will probably throughout this course use both terms interchangeably, but the correct term now is background talent. These are people that just need to be in the picture, just the general people in the background at the bar, that sort of thing. Yellow is for people that have specific performances. Maybe someone trips and falls in the background, which also would probably actually be a stunt performer, which would fall under talent. But people that are doing specific things in the script rather than just simply being there to make it look like the area is filled out. Orange is for stunts, and we'll talk about this more kind of as we go along, but basically anything that is not just walking, sitting, or talking is probably a stunt. And at the very minimum, when you're doing your first breakdown, you need to think of it as a stunt because those are the places where people can get hurt, and we'll talk about that more when we talk about safety on set and planning for safety. Blue is for special effects. This is any in-camera effect. So this is something that we're going to have to accomplish in camera. You may also use this depending on your production for visual effects because a lot of times visual effects and special effects supplement each other, so it's not necessarily just a single you're not going to often do a single effect of one type or the other. You're going to need to be doing both anyways. Purple is for props, which are any objects that are important in the script. So you may or may not mark down every single set of keys, but you might depending on exactly what's happening. So the script really drives what are the important props, and those are the ones that need to get marked. Pink is any vehicles or animals. The reason they kind of have the same color, as far as I'm aware, is that a lot of times you're only going to have one or the other. You're doing a Western or a fantasy film and you've got a lot of horses, or you're doing driving around. Obviously, there's some crossover if you've got a pet in a car, but they're less frequent, so we've got pink for that. Brown is any on-set sound requirements. For me, I'm kind of bad about this particular color because I'm a sound mixer and I tend to break down scripts, at least for short films, and mark everything with brown, even if it's a later requirement, just so I have it in my head. We'll use black to do any circling for wardrobes, any asterisks for hair and makeup, any special equipment marks, and any underlines for any additional production notes. Then for our highlighters, now you can break down a script with highlighters as well. It's perfectly fine. I make too many mistakes to do that. With an underline, you can fix it a little bit easier. But also when we're marking our slug lines, we're going to be using no color or a simple underline in black for any interior day scenes. We're going to be using our yellow for any exterior day, green for any interior night, and blue for any exterior nights. So these are not, by no means are these the end all be all. Depending on what your film is, you're going to have a kind of a variety of what your needs are. But these are kind of the standard colors that you start with, and then you probably build off of it as you need to. So those are the colors that you're going to be looking at, and we'll talk as we go through how to break down a script exactly, a little bit more in detail what each of these is doing and what we are going to be doing, what we're going to be doing with these colors, what kind of makes a cut, what doesn't. So in the Google Classroom, these slides are presented so you can get an idea, and you can just quickly reference back to these colors and be able to see exactly when you're going to use each of them. So again, this was a pretty quick one today. We simply went over and looked at the tools that we're going to need for a script breakdown, just to identify them and get them brought together. So those are the tools for that. I hope this was a helpful lesson for y'all, and that this gets you ready and prepared for our next breakdown, our next portion of the breaking down a script lesson, which will get more into detail into how we're doing this. So thank you for watching TCS Film School. I'm Corey Mack.